It caused Vince McMahon to fire his most trusted legal bulldog. Is it the reason we haven't seen any more of Roman Reigns' cousins join the bloodline? Did it stop the Elite jumping ship to WWE? And why, after all this time, did WWE simply settle their lawsuit with MLW? I'm Luke Owen, and this is how WWE lost their wrestling monopoly. For legal reasons.
Support WrestleTalk!
On January 11, 2022, Major League Wrestling, MLW, filed an antitrust lawsuit against WWE with the basic accusations of blocking TV deals they were trying to acquire and attempts to poach their talent. They were accusing WWE of operating an illegal monopoly. We'll go into all the ins and outs of that lawsuit shortly, but the end point is thus: WWE settled. On December 11, 2023, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics revealed via Twitter, WWE and MLW have come to a settlement in the antitrust case against WWE. Lawyers from both parties filed today. The parties are in the process of completing the final settlement documents and expected to file the appropriate dismissal papers within the next 30 days. He also posted a picture of this settlement notice, which is thrilling, I guess. The Hollywood Reporter wrote that details weren't disclosed of the settlement, but it's a pretty surprising finale to this case. WWE had this lawsuit dismissed on several occasions, but MLW kept coming back, and now WWE have backed down. WWE back down, name of your next pay-per-view. PW Insider reported that there is a lot of happiness among talent in MLW upon hearing about the WWE settlement, as it means the company can again focus on growing the company rather than fighting the biggest wrestling company on the planet. It also means they now have money in the bank, with Dave Meltzer speculating, not reporting, on Wrestling Observer Radio that evidently they got some money from the lawsuit because they're greatly expanding their schedule. And they said they're going to be in the market for expanding their talent base. That expansion of talent has already been seen, with MLW announcing the signing of free agent Sami Callihan, and it's been revealed that former WWE star Matt Riddle will be wrestling for MLW on January 6, 2024 in Philadelphia against Jacob Fatu, a match that will be emotionally charged given Riddle's history with the Bloodline. We'll have more on the Fatus later in this episode. MLW themselves wrote on their website, "Winter is here, but the hot stove is heating up." MLW's talent relations department, which is in the midst of a significant overhaul, has been active in discussions with several high-profile free agents. But what exactly was this lawsuit all about anyway? Major League Wrestling was a promotion that launched in the early 2000s but closed after a couple of years. It saw a revival in 2017 under original founder and former WWE writer Court Bauer, and since been seen as, well, below WWE and AEW and possibly even TNA, but certainly above NWA ever since Billy Corgan lost his mind and put the title on Tyrus for a long period of time, and then did that drug scandal angle on a pay-per-view that lost them a lucrative TV deal with the CW. In 2022, MLW filed an antitrust suit against WWE, writing they were fighting against WWE's ongoing attempts to undermine competition and monopolize the professional wrestling market by interfering with MLW's contracts and business prospects. The allegations start with Vice, who in the spring of 2021 struck a deal with MLW to air archival footage of their promotion that then blossomed into bigger talks about the station airing a weekly TV program. The suit alleged that Vince McMahon was pissed about this, and that Susan Leveson, then senior vice president and head of WWE Studios, called a Vice executive and warned them not to do a deal with MLW. The argument provided was that WWE knew they had the leverage in this scenario because Vice aired Dark Side of the Ring, which featured WWE footage. On top of that, A&E owned 20% of Vice, and WWE and A&E have a very close relationship. According to the suit, the Vice executive responded to what Leveson was asking them to do and said that was illegal and an antitrust violation, to which Leveson allegedly responded, "She cannot control McMahon." They claimed that WWE's interference cost MLW their Vice deal. In July of 2021, MLW signed a deal with Tubi, a streaming service owned by Fox, and began plans for TV tapings, which would include a press release from both parties about the new relationship. relationship. However, in August of 2021, according to the lawsuit, Stephanie McMahon met with an executive of Tubi to request, or as they write, initially pressure, that MLW not air against WWE's NXT on Tuesday nights. This initial pressure then turned into terminate the agreement completely or we'll remove WWE from Fox. Fox, according to the suit, sided with WWE, which is hilarious when you consider how that relationship ended. The other big allegation from the original lawsuit was that in August of 2020, WWE tried to poach MLW's talent from their contracts by contacting them directly, asking them to get out of their MLW deals. This is the same accusation Tony Khan of AEW threw at WWE in late 2022, a claim that has been backed up by reports from several reputable outlets, including Fightful Select. The suit also claims that WWE told other independent wrestlers that if they worked for MLW in the future, they would not be hired by WWE, which meant that wrestlers were apprehensive of taking bookings from Major League Wrestling. Throughout 2022, WWE got the lawsuit dismissed not once, but twice, with Judge Edward Davalia noting that MLW did not provide sufficient facts for the case. MLW filed again in March of 2023. WWE tried to dismiss this one too, but this time, the judge ruled in favor of MLW. So what changed? Well, in January of 2023, MLW reached a deal with cable channel Reels to air their TV show starting in February. In that same month, Reels agreed to a deal with NBC Universal to be part of their streaming platform. The name of that streaming platform was Peacock. Can you guess what might have happened next? The deal between MLW and Reels was announced that it was coming to an end, with the station telling PW Insider, "We evaluated wrestling on Reels and decided that it was not a great fit with the current programming direction of the network, and MLW agreed. So there are no further conversations taking place." But did MLW really agree? Because in March of 2023, they cited the Reels deal falling apart as part of their amended lawsuit, calling WWE's behavior predatory conduct. They also added to their previous accusations, citing Triple H contacting Madison Square Garden in 2018 to get them to cancel the joint ROH New Japan pay-per-view, which Madison Square Garden did until Sinclair, the then owners of Ring of Honor, threatened to sue Madison Square Garden, so they put the show back on. They also write in this new suit how WWE ran 2 pay-per-view events around AEW's All Out in 2022 in an effort to prevent AEW from posing a real threat to WWE's market share. They also expanded on the contract tampering allegations, alleging WWE contacted Swerve Strickland in 2018 when he was MLW's world champion and asked him to breach his contract so he could sign with WWE. They also alleged that in 2021, they did the same with Davey Boy Smith Jr., one of MLW's top stars at the time. And rather than use him on TV, WWE only had Smith wrestle one dark match and then released him a few months later. The lawsuit writes, by WWE failing to use Smith in its programming, WWE made clear its intentions to impair MLW's ability to build its brand and viewership by removing one of its successful wrestlers. What's really interesting is that around this time, there was talk of WWE wanting to bring in new names to the company, but felt they couldn't because of the lawsuit. In May of 2023, Court Bauer revealed on Busted Open Radio that WWE had multiple chances to sign MLW's Jacob Fatu, but opted not to, despite him having 3 or 4 tryouts at the WWE PC. Fatu is part of the Anoa'i family and was argued as a no-brainer to bring in to expand the Bloodline faction, one of WWE's most popular storylines in years. Similarly, Sean Ross Sapp noted on the Fightful post-show review of the December 18th, 2023 edition of Monday Night Raw that WWE were confident they could have brought Trinity back into WWE earlier in 2023. Trinity, the former Naomi in WWE, is the wife of Bloodline member Jimmy Uso. While it could be argued this was to do with the MLW case, it was also reported in early 2023 that WWE had a talent hiring freeze due to the merger deal with Endeavor. But the lawsuit did play a factor, according to other sources, with Dave Meltzer noting in a June edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE were not going to risk any tampering when it came to wrestlers' contracts, especially those signed to AEW, specifically the Elite. In August of 2023, it was announced by AEW that the Elite of Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page had re-signed new multi-year deals with the company. While that may feel like it was a fairly obvious bit of news, it wasn't always guaranteed. There was all of the brawl-out drama. CM Punk was coming back for his own TV show called Collision, and WWE were interested in bringing the Elite into their ranks. Dave Meltzer let this slip on Wrestling Observer Radio, noting that if it wasn't for the MLW lawsuit, WWE would have made a play for the Elite. However, WWE were very, very leery because of the MLW lawsuit. WWE has been uncharacteristically not aggressively trying to steal talent. WWE had interest in the Elite, and Meltzer adds that the Elite had interest in hearing from WWE, but nothing could be done. However, like Jacob Fatu and Trinity, this could also be down to the talent hiring freeze. But really, the biggest change in this lawsuit case came on July 7th, 2023, because on July 7th, 2023, Jerry McDevitt announced that he was retiring. Now you may be asking, who is Jerry McDevitt? And the answer to that would be one of the most powerful and influential people in the history of WWE. As WWE's go-to lawyer, he helped the company through the steroid trial of 1994, the Owen Hart wrongful death lawsuit, the aftermath of Chris Benoit, and many, many concussion lawsuits. Without Jerry McDevitt, WWE might not be the powerhouse it is today. McDevitt told WrestleNomics that because of the MLW lawsuit was not going to get thrown out, he wanted to retire now, as he felt this thing could drag out until 2025, and he didn't want to be working until then. But there was clearly more to this story than met the eye, as it wasn't just Jerry that left the case, the entire law firm representing WWE in the law case were gone. K&L Gates were removed from the MLW case and were replaced with the same high-powered firm that was handling the Endeavor merger. Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE thought the MLW case was going to go away, and Jerry McDevitt wrote arguments to get the case dismissed, and they were all rejected, so the case is going forward. You don't replace an entire firm unless there's something going on, and obviously Vince McMahon was not happy with that aspect of the case not going away. And like the end of the 1983 movie War Games, this new law firm felt that the only way to win was not to play. Spoilers for that movie. So they settled. But if they've spent the last couple of years fighting this case and arguing they're not a monopoly, why did WWE settle? And the answer is quite likely to make it go away. As Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE were leery about this case. He added, if WWE do something wrong and it gets out, that's not a good thing for the lawsuit. And as we've seen over the course of this video and over the course of wrestling history, some of the things that WWE love to do, allegedly, are things like contract tampering, counter-programming, using their leverage to get competitor business deals squashed. Again, I must stress, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. They allegedly love to do these things. And you can't really do those things if there's a lawsuit accusing you of doing those things. So they settled, out of court, and everyone moves on. What's interesting when looking back at this lawsuit is that MLW were almost a couple of years late to the game when it came to accusing WWE of being a monopoly. By the time 2022 had rolled around, All Elite Wrestling was thriving. MLW's lawsuit alleges that AEW aren't profitable, something we've discussed here on the WrestleTalk News. That video is linked to in the description down below. But AEW have gotten TV deals with Warner Brothers. They've sold out Wembley Stadium. They've signed top talent from around the world with hot free agents like Will Ospreay. They have got great ratings on TV and lucrative sponsorship deals. And that isn't me stoking tribalistic fires or being an AEW mark. That was WWE's legal defense. We can't possibly be a monopoly. AEW is successful and has beaten us in the ratings on multiple occasions. And now we're looking at a 2024 where WWE is on top of the world, AEW is bouncing back, TNA is offering 7-figure deals to sign talent, and MLW is trying to make a name for themselves. Top that up with the free agent market of 2024, and this wrestling world is going to get a hell of a lot more interesting for people interested in the business side of things, and fun for those who love wrestling, which, you know, is all of us. So yes, WWE were once a monopoly force in the world of wrestling, but unlike the last 20 years since the collapse of WCW, WWE are far from the only successful game in town. They're just the biggest. And that's not the only change to WWE's business models. Click the video on screen right now to find out more.